Let's give it up for all the moms. Come on. We love you, moms. So honored to be with you today on this special day. Thanks for coming. We've got 3 services today. The good news is I've cried a lot in the first and second, so by the third service I won't have any liquid left in my body. So that's really why we added 3 services, just for me. I want to just honor my wife as well. She's an incredible mother. And my mom, who's an amazing mom. I have the best mom in the world. I don't care how good you think your mom is, okay? Let's just get it out there. My mom could beat up your mom, all right? And then my grandmother, who's 90 years old. She loves watching on the live stream every week, and she lets us know she's watching too. So she's an incredible woman and prays for us all the time. But since it's Mother's Day, I want to talk about parenting, actually. But before I do that, let me ask you to do me a favor. This week, you may have saw in the news, a fellow pastor, friend of ours, Pastor Steve Sexton at the House Church. He was in a really, really bad car accident yesterday, as well as his kids. Actually, I guess it was 2 days ago now. Yeah. And it was a bad situation. But let me tell you how God works. He was pinned in his car, and one of our paramedics that attends SOCO, Scott Boyd, he was the first on the scene. And being a believer, found out Pastor Steve was a pastor and got to be there with him and pray. It took him about 30 minutes to get him out of the car. In fact, they thought at the time that it looks, y'all, so bad. If you see the photos, it's one of those, like, how did they live? Well, we obviously know how he survived, but I just want to honor all of our first responders and paramedics and police officers. Can we just give them all a hand for what they do? Amazing. But God has just been faithful, and both Pastor Steve and his daughter both were life-flighted to Springfield, and they're believing that everything's going to be okay, even though at the time they didn't. So be praying for that family, for that church this week. I just wanted to share that with you. But I want to talk to you about parenting today, and this is good for you if you're a parent. It's good if you're going to be a parent one day, if you're praying about being parents one day. If you're a mentor, we all need to be mentors. If you're a student in the room, if you're grandparents, it's going to be good for every one of us. It's going to be good for me because I have a 2.5-year-old, and he's a wild child, y'all. People are always like, well, he's 2. He's just 2. The problem is we get him around other 2-year-olds, and they don't act like my kid. So I don't think that's the case. In fact, I want to just show you my kid, and in case you're curious what he's up to when he's hanging out back in class. Somebody snapped several photos the other day. Look at this. Some little kid put a tower up. My kid's sucking his thumb, got his juice. Watch this again. Let me just kick that tower over for you. So I don't know whose kid that is up there with him, but I apologize in advance. Then he gets his juice, and he's like, deuces, I'm out. Where's the next tower I'm going to kick over? My dad's the pastor of the church. I can do whatever I want. So anyway, pray for him. He's really bossy. His favorite movie is Boss Baby. That could be the problem. Anyway, he is something else, but I want to, regardless, I want to be a good parent. So today, this is going to be great for me. Let's look to the Bible for some wisdom. The other good news is we've had a full day of honoring parents, so I'm not going to speak to you very long. Nobody amen. The first service, several people amen. And I was like, all right, I'll go 40 minutes now. So I'll do that to you as well. Let's look at the Bible, though, for instruction on how we can parent in a godly way. And we're going to look at Proverbs 24, verse 3. It says this: it takes wisdom to have a good family, and it takes understanding to make it strong. So today we want to gain wisdom and understanding from the Bible. There's a few different types of parenting styles that you can probably identify with, or maybe you're a mix, or maybe you know some parents like this. The first one is the authoritarian, the authoritative parent, that it's all about obey me, obey me, obey me. The next would be the more permissive, which is I just want my kids to like me. Just like me, kids. The next one is neglectful, where it's kind of do what you want. When I was a kid, I would have friends like, hey, you want to come over? They're like, yeah. I'm like, what, do we need to call your parents? Nah, they're good. I'm like, that is so cool, man. You can do whatever you want. Well, it really isn't that cool. It's terrible, actually. So don't be a neglectful parent. And then the fourth one is a biblical parent. And that's the main thing we want to look at today, where we teach our kids how to obey God. And there's really only One verse we're going to look at today that describes Jesus' life through the years, and we're going to break that down, and it's Luke 2, verse 52. It says, Jesus grew in wisdom and stature, and he grew in favor with God and with man. And we're going to break down these four things. The first one is wisdom. So he grew intellectually, he grew physically, he grew spiritually, and he grew socially. And that's a challenge to us as parents, as mentors, as grandparents, future parents. If you're taking notes today, these are the areas that we want to help our children grow as we parent them. The first one, let's break it down. It's wisdom. And know this, the greatest legacy that you can leave for your children is a legacy of living for God. That is the greatest legacy that you can leave for your children. So wisdom. We want to teach our children wisdom. We can do that first by teaching them to fear God. Have you guys ever heard that term, fear God? Have you ever heard that? So for me growing up, fearing God meant be terrified, be so afraid that if you do one little sin when your parents aren't looking, zap, you're going to hell, right? That's kind of what I thought fearing God. But the truth is, fearing God, as the Bible talks about it, is having a respect and an awe for God. And we're trying to teach this already to Slade at 2.5. Monday night, we were our team meeting. We were there, and a group of us, and we were praying as my son was coming down the stairs, and he was screaming, as he does frequently, and it's his favorite hobby. And so he was coming down the stairs screaming, and he stopped because he knew in the room we were praying. And he bowed his head and he closed his eyes, because we are teaching him at an early age that when we are talking to God, when we are at church, when we're doing certain things, let's have a fear, a healthy fear of God. Now, he did start screaming towards the end of the prayer, but still, he did a pretty good job. Psalms 34 and 11, come, my children, listen to me. I will teach you. Notice, I will teach you the fear of the Lord. It's something we teach. Also, to teach our kids wisdom, accept the Bible as our manual for living. Look at these numbers that we have on the screen. This is the generations from Builder Generation 1927. 65% of them are Bible-based believers, meaning they go to the Bible for their manual for how to live life. But notice it's changed over the years to 35%, Generation X 16%, and the millennial generation that we're presently in, 4%. You guys have probably heard the numbers of 70 to 80% of Christian teenagers leave the faith and leave the church when they get into college. We have to do a better job of helping our kids, our children understand how to be Bible-based believers, using the Bible as a manual for living. How do we do that? We do it by teaching them by example, by our example. Deuteronomy 6, verse 6. This is a great passage. Look at this. These commandments that I give you today are to be upon your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road and when you lie down and when you get up. So translation, when you're taking them to sports practice, when you're sitting around at night for dinner, when you're leaving church today and you pick up your kids in Sunday school and they've got little papers talking about what they learned, talk about it. Talk about it. Impress it on their hearts as you live day by day. The next way that we can help them with wisdom is we have to guard their minds. And this is harder than ever. By the time they're 18, listen to the statistics. By the time a teenager is 18, they will have seen 100,000 sexual encounters on TV. And those sexual encounters are teaching them what a relationship should be like, teaching them what's okay and what you can do in a relationship. We have to guard their minds from the video games, the social media, the ability to find pornography on any device, the parties, the music they listen to. Slade has a little iPad. He calls it a hi-pad. And he has YouTube for Kids, an app, and he watches these little videos. By the way, he watches, I don't know if you guys have kids like, my kid likes to watch videos of kids playing with toys. Is this a lazy generation or what? Like, son, I got you some toys. No thanks, Dad. I just want to watch somebody play with toys. I got my juice. I got this tower I can kick over. I'm good. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. We'll pray about that. But he loves watching all these silly videos. But occasionally a video will come on, and it's just a cartoon, but it'll have like an evil voice or something. We shut that off. I know he's only 2 and has no idea what it is, but we're guarding his mind. Guard your children's mind. Give me an amen in the room if you believe that. It's a war worth fighting. Psalms 101 verse 3 says, I'll set before my eyes no vile thing. The next way it says Jesus grew is in stature, and many times we would think of that as just physically, but I want to look at it as he grew in his purpose. He grew in his purpose. I love what Acts 20 verse 24 says. However, I consider my life worth nothing to me, if only I may finish the race and complete the task the Lord Jesus has given me. Lean in on this. Your kids have a calling in their life. Your future kids have a calling in their life. Your grandkids, the kids you're mentoring, the kids you are being an example to the neighbors, they have a calling on their life. What if we as parents and adults tuned in with them and helped them lock in to the purpose and the calling that God has for their lives? He has given them everything they need. He's given them the right personality. He's given them the right skills, the abilities, the desires in their heart. He's given it all to them. What if we can help them identify that purpose for their life? Amen, somebody? And you are quiet. You are quiet. Yeah. You are really quiet. I just thought maybe you ate too many donuts. I don't know what's going on, but it's okay. Help them discover their purpose. Pray for God's favor on their life. Listen to this. Choose relationships carefully. Help your children choose relationships carefully. I used to, as a student pastor, I'd have parents tell me, well, my son's hanging out with this group, but I just hate to tell him he can't hang out with them because, he'll be 18 soon and he might not like us anymore. Are you kidding me? There's a saying that many of you know, as long as you live under my roof, right? You guys know that saying? The worst phrase ever. But it's basically true. As long as they live under your house, they're under your care. They're under your supervision. It's up to you to lead them, to guide them, and to help them navigate the right relationships in their life. I could talk about that a long time. The third way Jesus grew was favor with man. In other words, he was learning how to socially interact, how to treat people. And if you read about Jesus, he knew how to treat people. He knew how to love people. Let's teach our kids how to treat other people. Philippians 2:3 says, don't be selfish. Hear this verse. Don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Be humble, thinking of others better than yourselves. Let me tell you 3 things I would love for you to teach your kids. Number 1 is honesty. Teach your kids honesty. Not just how to not lie, but how to have honest conversations with people. Honesty is such a big deal. My dad is one of the most honest people in the world. I don't even know if he remembers this story, but when I was a kid, we went and rented a U-Haul, one of those like 300-foot U-Hauls that you can't turn around if you had to, and we rented it. And we got down the road a little ways, and my dad realized he filled out the paperwork with one of their U-Haul pens that are like 3 cents, and he put it in his pocket, and he had stole it. And I remember like, Dad, they don't care that you took that pen. But my dad's like, no. So we turned that U-Haul around, went back. My dad went in, apologized, and gave them the pen back. What a lesson he taught me. What a lesson he could teach y'all, because y'all take those SOCO pens every week. So stop it. He'd be so disappointed in you guys. But I'll never forget that lesson he taught me. He was teaching me it doesn't matter on what level. Oh, Brad, it's just a pen. That wasn't what he said. He wanted to make sure that I knew that we needed to be honest at every level, how important integrity was. Honor is another area. Teach your kids how to be honoring. Something we all could learn is how to love and appreciate those who've gone before us. How often do we see the things that we have and forget to appreciate our parents or appreciate those that have worked so hard for us to have what we have? The church that I attended for years and really plugged into ministry in Siloam Springs, Pastor Tim Estes, he's our pastor today. His father served in that church for many, many years, worked hard, blood, sweat, and tears to build a church. I arrived there. He was he hadn't been the pastor there for years once we got there. But I frequently would go up to him and tell him, thank you for all that you did to create a place where I could figure out my calling and my purpose. I wanted to honor him for all he had done. Let's teach our kids how to honor. And lastly, respect. Teach your kids how to respect people. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Respect is such a big deal. And fourth way that Jesus grew as we close today. I told you I was going to be short, 15 minutes. It's pretty amazing. Anybody want to clap your hands to that? 15 minutes? You're going to get mom to Mother's Day before the Baptist church does, y'all. So I saved y'all standing in line. You owe me. All right. Favor with God. Jesus grew in his favor with God. Many times parents put that responsibility on the church. I take my kid to church. I take him to youth group. Y'all handle it. But really, we are a partnership. It's your job to teach them biblical truths. We come behind and we just get behind you and we partner with you. So how do we do that? How do we teach our kids to have favor with God? Number one, in your home, make Jesus the Lord of your home. Make him the Lord of your home. We talk about this a lot, but put him first. Let them see you pray. Listen to me. Let your kids see you pray. Let them see you reading your Bible. Let them see you serving at the church, in your community group, involved. Let them see you living that life. I've got a few pictures here I love of some of our kids. This is a Kami on the right side and her dad. They serve donuts and coffee to you guys. A dad and daughter serving together. I love that. There's another photo of a couple of our kids. We sent them out into the street. It's fine. They're fine, y'all. They're tough kids. But they're serving out there. I saw a young lady a couple weeks ago. She came up and she was looking for our kids pastor, and she was new. And we went and got Brooke, and she's like, hey, I just want to get involved. I wanted to hold the sign that welcomes kids every Sunday. It was like her first Sunday, but somewhere she had learned the value and importance of serving. Let's teach that to our kids and put him first. Joshua 24:15, choose for yourself this day who you will serve. But as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. How also do we teach them favor with God? Show them your love for God. Make it evident. Don't hide that. Let them see you worship. Let them see you in your prayer time. Let them see your faith in God. And lastly, be like Jesus in every situation. Even when you're driving in traffic, right? Even when the coach don't put your kids in and you're upset about it. In every situation, the best you can, let them see Jesus in you. Those memories that I have of my dad when I was a kid, I cherish those because he was teaching me so much. And I'm sure there were times it got out of control. Another thing about my mom and dad is they never walked around with unforgiveness. I saw them get into fights occasionally, hardly ever actually. But their love for one another, their love for God was so evident to me. Make sure your kids see that in you. We'll close with this passage, Colossians 3:13. Bear with each other and forgive whatever grievances you may have against one another. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. Teach your kids how to forgive. Teach them how to move through some things and navigate through some things in their life. Teach them how to understand, look, stuff's going to come, storms are going to come, people are going to mistreat you. But teach them how to forgive just as God forgives us. Amen, somebody? Such an important thing. Final thing I want to tell you, and this is maybe the most important, how you parent is the example your children are learning from for how they're going to parent one day. They're learning from you. How do you want them to handle their house one day? Do you want them to put God first? Do you want them to make time for church, make time to serve others? Do you want them to make time to forgive others? The greatest way that's going to happen is if they see it in you. Mentors in the room, let them see that in you. Big brothers and sisters in the room, let them see that in you. Together, let's begin to change a young generation. I love that we have a couple of rows of students down here. I love what God is doing in their lives. I went over to our youth night last Wednesday, and there were just kids everywhere, y'all. Kids everywhere, and I love what God is doing. Let's come together. Let's be the best, godliest parents, leaders, mentors we can be. Let me pray for you. Bow your heads. Father, thank you for every person in the room. Thank you, God, that You love us. You care for us. You forgive us. And God, when we see these numbers of how this millennial generation is falling away from the truth, and falling away from the Word of God, we just pray today that you would give us the boldness, the desire, and put it on our heart, God, to be godly leaders. Lord, for those in the room, those mothers in the room, those parents in the room that are maybe struggling today, going through something, maybe they are praying to be parents. Lord, I just believe in miracles. I believe that in this church. This church is full of people that believe, God, in miracles. And we pray, Lord, for those families that are hurting today, that are yearning for something, God, for that gift of children. And we just believe in your supernatural power. We believe that you can do it, God. We know that your word tells us that when we delight in you, you give us the desires of our heart, Lord. And so we know it's not punishment. So we just continue to wait on you. We continue to believe in faith, that, Lord, that you're going to make it happen. And we trust you in that.